have largely been inspired with the way that this, let's say, capability looks like from them, in order for us to be able to help them with some level of, automation in that, front. So what that basically, did, or the inspiration behind that is that, where is it? Again, apologies for that. I'm trying to come up with a couple things here. Is that your inbox is getting only, more and more cluttered, and your, work around it never ends 24/7. And some of those, let's say, workflows and capabilities have no kind of clear kind of end in sight. So we started, as I was saying earlier, working with some of these customers in some sort of real cases, and we looked into different kinds of problems and problem spaces around repetitive and high, in essence, volume type of email use cases. And I'm going to start with very near and dear, basically, to my heart, that happened a few weeks, maybe a month ago, where we were looking into having received, again, a bunch of different emails. In this particular case, it was from a number of applicants that were actually submitting to us resumes. And in essence, what this created to some extent is a number of different, emails with attachments, with, certain applicants, from certain applicants that we want to, get back to. At that time, we started looking into that as one of those problems that we have to, think through automation. And automation basically led us to creating, to some degree, what visually you can imagine as something like what you see in front of us. Of course, this is, purely for visualization and conceptualization type of purposes. So what you see in front of you here is a workflow. And by workflow, we are referring to a capability that allows us to be able to do a number of steps end to end. So in this particular, workflow, we have an email automation that basically gets triggered, as you can see here on the left, then has a component that takes information from, in this particular case, Outlook, but it could be from any sort of email provider, then does a little bit of transformation. Sometimes it may not be kind of like necessary. And then the major kind of work is over here, where you can do quite a bit of magic through an AI agent that lives on top of language models of all kinds of different sorts, memory, and, of course, certain prompts that are guiding the behavior of the agent. So this workflow obviously is something that you can put together in a number of different ways. And one of the basically ways that you see here is through primarily open source software called N8N. And this basically particular software has literally thousands of different modules, and basically you can pick and choose some of these modules, as you can see here on the left, and drag and drop them in different kind of forms. As you can see here is another agent, and I can have 2 and 3 and 23 basically different agents if I wanted to in this particular workflow. But to keep things simple, let me just give you a very, very quick rundown of how you can get started, and then start building now after that the entire workflow for your purposes. So in this particular workflow, obviously you should start with connecting to your email, and connecting to your email typically means that you have to have some sort of OAuth credentials that you will set up over here, and then you will have to go through defining what kind of resource this looks like, what kind of operation you're going to perform, what kind of output, what kind of fields, filters, etc., etc. As you can imagine, there are quite a few things that you need to set up, but of course, the most important piece of the equation is over here in setting up your auth account for secure access to your emails. Once upon you have that, literally the next big thing is how you will set up your AI. And in this particular case, your AI basically has primarily two different pieces. One is your user message, and the other one is the system message. So in your user message, as you can see here in my screen, you have things that basically will guide the AI in terms of what is coming in and in terms of what is going out. And let me briefly jump back to, I guess, the resume example I was saying earlier, just to show you the exact prompt. So the exact prompt basically in the resume example is that you have you're given in essence a resume, and the resume actually, if I was to show you exactly where it's coming from, is over here. So in this particular box, as you can see over here, is the box where you're saying to the agent that you're an HR professional looking to hire for a cloud architect position. And then here is the job description. And over here, you have, in essence, a typical, a standard job description. So that will be your system message. And then on that, in essence, system message, you have the user prompt, and the user prompt is what is it that you want to do now that you have the resume or description, or the job description, I should say, from the system prompt. So in the user prompt, look into using, in essence, this as the part where you will pass through the actual resume itself. So again, in the system prompt, we have the job description. In the user prompt, we now have the resume from one or many of the actual candidates that have now submitted the resume. And if you go back and think about the problem that I said at the beginning, that we now have a ton of emails, and we want to look into automatically, in essence, understanding, what they say, what they mean, and how we can, better process, right, this high volume workflow. And again, this can be a few resumes, this can be a few hundreds of resumes that you would be processing again and again through this workflow. So the idea here is that, and as you can see here, is that you can take each and every one of these resumes, you can process them, and you can export in CSV format or in any other format that you choose, some sort of output where you now will have the information around the candidate. You have the information around where this candidate resume came from, aka a file name. You have information about now how good is the match between the candidate resume and the job description. And then you have an explanation that is describing why this match, which as you can see here, this is a number from 0 to 100, with 100 basically meaning it's a perfect match. And therefore, someone sitting on the other side of receiving a bunch of these emails and a bunch of these resumes is now able to assess, whether this resume is indeed, close enough or perfect, right, for the job description that was initially published. So this will be one key, let's say, capability that could save you time, could focus quite a bit of your efforts in the areas of work that you want to be doing. And as I said before, this is in essence a visualization of how this workflow typically would work in different cases. And what we wanted to do is to generalize, in essence, what that capability looks like in ways that can now allow us to do that in potentially much more easier way, both in terms of setting this up as well as producing this capability in an enterprise manner. And for that, we actually build, give me a second, a way of approaching it through much more, I would say, easy and simple interface that now allows someone to, in essence, log in. And you can see here one of the examples. Actually, I will probably need to show you two of these accounts in parallel, because one of them is going to be actually the actual user that will be doing that, and the other one should be the admin. So here is an admin of that account that I was saying before. So now I have transitioned to some degree into the actual implementation and in essence business solution, if you want, to the visual that I was sharing with you just a minute ago. So we call it here, the DeepRunner email automation solution, or deep email if you want. Since we are DeepRunner, this is deep email. And within actually, this solution, we have the ability to create a multi-tenant architecture that is able to define the different teams, the different users, the different roles, and of course, within each and every one of these users and roles, you can now have all kinds of different workflows that you can develop. So let's go through a few of these examples and see what that entails. So this is, first of all, our admin dashboard. So this is in essence what you would see when you simply log in and you are now an administrator of the plan. And you can see here, here is my login as administrator, and here are some of the things that I have, like my role, my current plan, my multi-tenant domain, and so on and so forth. So here in the overview, you have some of the general dashboard statistics, and I'm not sure why it takes so long. Give it a second. There it is. And in that dashboard, in essence, we have some, as an administrator, again, overall, automation statistics, metrics, recent activity, and so on. One of the main, or maybe two or three of the main capabilities, less, needs from an administrator is obviously to look into managing users. So in essence, here is kind of a small screen snapshot of different kinds of users. And in here, as you can see, I have a total of 4 different users. And we basically have certain activity, from some of them, and maybe not some others. And there is a very, very simple, let's say, system where you can invite, you can, to some degree, allow list, right, a user, through that process. And once upon the user, comes in through an email, let's say, verification system, you now are able to manage them from this, I guess, portal, from this administrator system. Here we have, some of the health dashboard. I think you can ignore the error. This is a bug, but this, in essence, health dashboard primarily looks at whether the system is, up and running, is working, and of course there are certain things that you can do with the DeepRunner, customer support. Then you actually have certain things which relate with your account, whether it's your user, email accounts, workflows, AI agents, and of course some of the activity that you have there around token usage. You can see here some of my tests from the last 24 hours, and in essence, a breakdown of that information. And even further in this usage monitoring, there may be some additional things coming up. So this is, in essence, the admin. As I said before, primarily look at the users, invite the users, look at the overall system health, and then the actual usage of the system. Those would be the three things that typically you would do as an admin. Now let me switch over to another tab, which here is one of the users. And this user, as you can see here, is Mike DeepRunner, which of course was one of the users that was here. So this was, I guess, that kind of user. Mike DR was the first one here. So back now to the user. When the user basically logs in, typically you don't really have much there, and you have a very, very simple and hopefully practical type of dashboard that you log in, and a few options therein. As I said before, our goal was to largely simplify the user's experience, like literally bring it down. If you remember from what we discussed a second ago over here, where you had sometimes tons and tons of different settings in your I guess disposal, to something that now is conversational and is super simple in order to set up and to fire off. So in our let's say view of the user experience, we basically, all we need to do is literally two things. Step number one is go here, something called email accounts, and authenticate basically with your email provider. So we have here a couple of examples, like Microsoft 365 and the Google workspaces. And this is literally a process that you will go through in a couple of steps, where you would click on it and then click on it and then say yes, yes, yes. And within a few clicks, you would be able to set up your account. And as you can see here, I have set up here my personal account, mike@deeprunner.ai, where just by clicking here, connect Microsoft 365. And once upon I have this information, I have now access to some of my Microsoft Azure services, like, of course, Outlook, Exchange, and more. I can also access my calendar, my contacts, my OneDrive, and other services. Again, these are things that depend largely on your plan and what is it that you would like to do as a business. Some businesses may strictly want to do email. Some businesses want to do additional services. In my particular case, I have given access to also calendar, contacts, and OneDrive. So pretty much that's the one of the two steps that you need. So literally it should take not even 30 seconds to set up your Microsoft or your Google account and have this activated. And now you are literally ready to start creating your very first workflow, as I was saying just a minute ago. In order to create your own workflow, we actually have a very, very simplified experience. And I was going to say that literally we call it also the, 1 minute, workflow setup experience. And this is largely, driven by AI as well in this particular case. So we want you to be able to describe your workflow in perfect English so that you can actually, build something. So let me do that. So basically, as you can see here, all I have to do is start a new workflow. The new workflow can be named anything, test my workflow. And then the key ingredient is over here, is in the workflow description. So in the workflow description, in essence, we have the ability to write your instructions in very plain English and be able to, submit that with create with AI, and this will now fire off. So if, for instance, I wanted to say something like check my email for anything related to potential customer meeting interest and create a draft with my availability. That pretty much would be one of those workflows where once upon I click the button, create with AI, we will actually in the background go through and prepare, in essence, a number of things that have to do with the actual platform and system, and of course, things that have to do with your email experience. So what would be your email experience? It will be obviously emails that you would like to get information from, emails that you would like to get to. As you can see, it just completed. And now that it came back, it said that, okay, so basically at the system level, you are analyzing emails to clarify potential customer meeting requests and create responses, look for emails with this and that, and then generate professional responses, etc., etc. On the user, prompt, you have basically the steps that we want the workflow to take. And as I mentioned before, basically I wanted to analyze the content to confirm if a meeting is an expression of interest or not. Number two, we wanted to create a professional, draft. Number three, we wanted to save a draft for review before sending out the email. And then we see the note here, specify your available time slots with any scheduling preference to include in the responses. So that's pretty much, all you need. I mean, in some cases, you may need to edit that workflow in order to make sure that you don't kind of like, you're more precise in terms of what, the workflow looks like. As you can see here, this is my title. This is my email account. Of course, this is only one, but I could have accounts which have many, many different email accounts. So that's why there's a drop-down menu. You can see here that we have also how many emails that we want to be, testing at any given time. And again, these are things that obviously were automatically populated, through what I was saying earlier, the AI being able to, get some of my context and then, fill in some of these things, which of course include later on, as you can see, the system prompt, the user prompt that I just showed you earlier. And if I want to have more specificity with, addresses, whether, those addresses are in the from or in the to or in the CC, kind of like, area, I can also do that. And I guess that will help me, in essence, prepare, my responses. So I'll reduce this to 2 just to make it shorter and faster, save this workflow. And now this workflow is ready to basically run or to be scheduled. Before I do that, let me just very quickly go back to another tab, the Workflows tab, which show you a few of the workflows that I have, already created, including the one that we just did here together, which is called Test My Workflow. So here are some other examples of workflows that you can actually look into. You can have things like, get one email. You can have things around scheduling calendar events. You can have a weekly outbound newsletter that you're constructing. You can have actually a processing, storing, and summarizing, as you can see here, of different, email, attachments, and so on and so forth. Each one of these workflows, just like again, get one email, is a very similar kind of, I guess, prompt and setup. You can see here that basically this says draft a reply email based on the context of the received message. And in essence, this would be one example. Let me just run a couple of those so that you can see what that looks like. So basically, when you click run now, you can immediately live see your execution pipeline. And of course, your execution pipeline has to do with validating your token, going to your email provider, and then coming back with the steps that the AI now has to take in order to be able to look into your actual mailbox, check your email or emails. In this particular case, as you can see, it says that I'm processing one email with, Claude AI. Obviously, at DeepRunner, we are not specifically, using only one AI. We're using many. In this particular account, the administrator has set this up with the Claude API, but we can also hit APIs where we are intelligently rerouting the requests to different LLM providers. But this is one example of those. So as you can see here, we actually completed the workflow. It processed one email, create one draft. It took about 36 seconds. That wasn't very fast, but it is what it is. And this was a manual trigger, which means that I clicked run now. And with that kind of information, I have actually completed, the workflow. And now in the executions, I can see, more information about the different kinds of workflows. As you can see here, last few days as well as now, I have actually run a few of these workflows, and you can see, some of the details. This is what literally happened right now. You can see that I had one email, I had one draft, I took about 24,000 tokens, and it even has some of the costs that, this may entail. Again, the latency here from the API was about 31 seconds, and here is the information. So now that we actually have that, what did we do, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we say that we have execute the workflow, but where is the workflow? So let me go back to my actual email. So here is my email. Here is literally, some of the things that I have now done. And we actually can look into drafts. And in drafts, you can see that one of the very latest drafts that was actually created about 2 minutes ago. This is 7:31 a.m. as opposed to 7:34 right now. You can see that I have created an email for the very latest kind of, email in my inbox that this particular workflow picked up. And you can also see some of the details behind that email. So This was again a very, very simple workflow that went through a simple email and got that email, created one draft, and as you can see, I have now this draft ready in my drafts folder that I think gives you, one very easy kind of like in a way for you to be scheduling it. But of course, this same workflow doesn't need to be manually, right, executed from, the user. I just show that for demonstration purposes. This workflow can also be scheduled. And scheduling a workflow basically can take a number of different ways. I can schedule the workflow, simply put, for a specific time. So just like I just did in the example before where I ran it once, I can schedule the workflow to run, let's say, on November 20th at 8:35 a.m. And in essence, if I was to schedule the workflow will run now on 11/20th, 8:35. So let me go ahead actually and do that. And once upon this is scheduled, you can see here that this is, a workflow that is over there. Not sure why it is twice. This is a bug. This is supposed to be one. But this, as you can see, is now the scheduled, workflow. It has an execution ID. It has a schedule time, and in essence, it will be sitting there in the DeepRunner enterprise solution as one of the threads that will be executed at the time as that I specified. So similarly, when you click again on schedule, I can have a recurring schedule. And you can see here that I can do a recurring schedule based on a preset frequency or on a custom schedule or anything else. So for instance, I can run it every, let's say, hour, or I can run it every day at 9 a.m. and I can run it, let's say, for 3, times. And as you can see that now, if I was to set up the 9 a.m. and the 3 times, the workflow will run on the selected schedule by up to 3 times. So if I click again on schedule that, we should be able to see more, or not, because something may have not worked in this particular example. So the demo guides are not necessarily helping us, but you can understand that to some extent this is now activated, as you can see here. And the way that I guess this works is that this scheduling of different workflows is now set up in the background. And again, if this was to work according to plan, you would actually see a number of different scheduled workflows in this particular setup. Also, as you can see here in my overall dashboard of the workflows, this workflow, the get one email now, has been turned into active. So what this actually does is that, it really runs in the background. It, has one or more of those scheduled repetitive or repeating, as I say, workflows that will be running at different parts of the spectrum. So that will be, again, a very simple example. Let's say, show you a few more things that start to make these workflows much more interesting. Here is another workflow, again, that I have created within 2 or 3 lines of a prompt. This is a weekly newsletter. So in this weekly newsletter, in essence, as you can see here, the user prompt is that compose a weekly newsletter with the structure, opening, main content, this week, spotlight, community events, call to action, sign off. Again, most of this user prompt was generated automatically because of our one-click AI agent that allows our customers to be able to do that very, very quickly. And in this particular case, again, I can click run now, as we were saying just a second ago, And again, in live, you can see some of the scheduling of some of the execution steps of that particular workflow. Now, this is not a check my inbox, see what's in there, and create a draft type of I guess workflow. This is a workflow that is an outbound workflow, and it has a number of different recipients. And as you can see here, it processed, it created one draft, and this was a manual, again, execution. I forgot to mention a little bit more about what the weekly newsletter looks like, because what you can see here is that this of course came from my account. This now, the response was sent automatically. So this actually email was sent automatically. And again, down here is the prompt, and you can see here the different fields as well. So for this particular prompt, then again, we would have expected that there is an email sent and an email received. So let's go back to my inbox and see in my sent. As you can see here, it's 7:39. And here, basically, oh, there is my DeepRunner weekly newsletter. So basically, I created here the nice, actually, the AI helped me, not me, create this nice, weekly newsletter, just like what I described in the prompt. And you can see here it's about DeepRunner and what have you. And if I click on my inbox, you can see here that I should have, is it draft only? Okay, it was draft only, I guess. Actually, it was sent. If it was sent, it didn't go to me. Actually, it was sent to others, so that's why I haven't received it. So I guess some of my colleagues by now should have received it. So Sandeep, since you're on a call, you should probably have received
I got
that
it.
email.
I got it in afternoon today. Yeah, I thought
You
you
got
sent it.
So again, I am not faking it. You can see real life demonstration of our weekly, dashboard. And of course, um, in this particular weekly dashboard, and let me kind of also take that opportunity and talk about some of the templates around these workflows, because in addition to you being able to actually create from scratch some of your custom workflows, literally with arbitrary language and with any kind of connectors to your contacts and to your calendar and to your OneDrive, you also have a few dozens of templates, as we call them. And then these templates here have very, very popular from demand from our customers type of use cases. We have heard our customers that they want to have some sort of customer support automation. So here is a workflow. And again, when I click on that, you can see some of the key points that this workflow will be generating, for you. We have heard that some of our customers want to do invoice and payment processing, sales lead automation, the weekly newsletter that you saw earlier. Here is basically what I did before. This is where I started with this template, and this template, literally, if you just say use this template, it's as simple as here is the information that you were able to see earlier, with the actual context, with the actual structure, the topics that you would of course edit for your own business. Over here is in essence a subscriber emails where you can type something, or you can search your contacts, and searching your contacts, which again, if you are in Microsoft, it's your Microsoft contacts. If you're in Google, it's Google contacts. And of course, in the near future, we can also add information for importing contacts that you may have in a third-party solution, or even in an Excel spreadsheet. So this is how easy it is. Literally, you go through these things, and I'm not going to do it again. And now you have a weekly newsletter. You can have an IT service desk auto response. So basically for your IT ticketing, so basically the IT, departments can now support all sorts of different, use cases again through email automation. Um, Contracts and document review is a big one. So contracts and document review, of course, very often include cases where you have a number of different attachments. And for that, I want to go back in my workflows and actually show you my store and summarize email attachments use case. So what you see here is a bit more advanced use case where, as you can see here, my initial system prompt was again a one-liner, right? A very, very, very simple, very straightforward information that our user gives to the system, which was basically along the lines, please get emails with attachments and help me organize and summarize them, right? So you should process only emails with attachments, and for those emails, upload the attachments to Google Drive or OneDrive or any other drive that you may have, use systematic naming, and then create the email summary, then handle various, file type, formats. Of course, attachments can have PDFs, can have Word files, can have HTML files, can have many, many different, formats there, and we want to be able to support them. And in essence, and you can see here, some of the things that I have in the user prompt. I said create email attachments, upload in attachment in some sort of naming, generate a summary, save the summary, and then log the processing results for tracking. So this is, as you can see, a workflow now that will not just take an email and respond to an email, but in essence does a dual, path processing. One is what is the actual email itself, and the other is in parallel what is in the attachment. And those two, of course, are synchronized later on. But on the surface, you can very simply describe some of your business objectives from these attachments, just like I was saying before, that different, businesses, let me go back for a second here, have different, cases. If your business is getting a contract from a customer or a partner, a supplier of yours, and now this email may have, like, let's say 8 different attachments, and part basically of your due diligence slash onboarding process is that each and every one of the documents required are part of these attachments. Then very easily and very quickly you can specify a lot of these details in your workflow, just like the one I was showing you a second ago. So this workflow here now, if I was to edit it, can very quickly be extended over here, right, with your system prompt logic as well as the user prompt. So literally you could start typing that, let's call it 1.5. You should inspect every attachment for dates, and if you find something that expires in 1 month, then flag it and add it to the draft email or summary that may reside in the same OneDrive folder. So these are, some of the possibilities now that you have, because you actually have natural language with which you interact with your inbox and with your workflow around your inbox. So the key thing here that I want you all to take away is that we're not trying to restrict, in essence, our users in the ways that they can use emails. We want them to actually be empowered with some of the capabilities that they get because of DeepRunner. So, so this is, as I was saying before, one of those, let's say, extended capabilities. Let me even have it run now live, just so that you guys can see it. Oh, sorry. 10, not 100. If I was to, look at this workflow to run for 10 of my emails. So you can see here that I can now get started. And here, in essence, I can now look into, it didn't take 10, it still says 5. I don't know why. So you can see here that it's looking at a number of my emails. In this particular case, it should have been 10. It says 5. And remember that I specified in the workflow that you should look into emails with attachments. I don't know if my inbox right now has attachments, but in essence, the system now will start looking into a number of these emails and filtering those emails with attachments, and then looking at each and every one of those attachments based on the instructions that I have just shared with you in order to be able to perform certain actions. So here, for instance, you can see, the emails found. It found 5 emails. Actually, I think I know why it says 5. It says 5 because, it looked into 10 emails, but it only found 5 with attachments, very likely. And you can see here, processed and drafts created. So it actually already probably has created one draft. So where am I? Not here. Let me go back to my drafts. And again, here is a draft that basically, here is a second draft that was created. So again, those are things that are now automatically are coming up as the workflow is going through. And again, it's going through because, different emails are processed, let's say, individually from, I guess, the API. And of course, if I wanted to stop, let me run it one more for one more email. Again, typically, from what I have seen, somewhere in the order of 20 to 30 seconds processing time for each email as well as attachment is, what we see from, different sort of LLM providers. So here is the third one that is processed and drafts created. Let me stop this here, since again, these are all, real scheduled, long-running, right, processes behind this system that are now, stopping down. Again, you can't stop them real time because, as you can see, as you can imagine, behind this process, there is a long-running, thread. It's a scheduler, and this scheduler, in essence, has already invoked, right, some of these things. You can see here, now that I stopped after the third iteration, that I have processed 3 emails, I have created 3 drafts, and in these 3 drafts over here, I have used 105,000 tokens, 100,000 tokens in, 4,000 tokens out. The API latency was not that great this morning, about 42 seconds. And then again, we created the 3 drafts because I stopped, creating those, documents up until those 3 drafts. And I guess I don't know if it found and if it already stored this, pieces already there. But one thing that I can actually show you is that if I go to my OneDrive folder, and over there, I can look now into my email attachments. Here is my email attachments, and there is a bunch of tests. This actually didn't came in yet, but this is where, in the OneDrive, you will be getting, different attachments and having them stored and organized according to the prompt that I just described. So in a nutshell, and trying to, close and leave a few minutes also for questions, we went through, I hope, a very, very simple user experience journey where, in essence, we now have the ability to create workflows, to activate workflows, and then to set up our email accounts. And then once upon we have that, our dashboard basically will show which one is activated. And again, I can literally activate and stop a given workflow by just a click of a button. So this, for instance, will make this an active workflow, and we'll be running it based on the schedule that we described earlier. And then on the flip side of the administrator over here, the administrator now also here has the ability to look across the different users for different activity and use that kind of information to kind of look at different things. So this page hasn't been refreshed yet. That's why you still don't see the latest and greatest. So that's what I had. Any questions?
Not a question, Mike, Sandeep here, yes. But I think a lot of comment. I can feel now what else on top we can build. Right. So I think thanks for the introduction. I think I still feel like we can still improve it. I think on like we can have like email chatbot, right? Many of these functionalities, right? We can have directly without going here, right? I'm just thinking many more ideas. I think how we can extend it more, make it more user friendly, and many more use cases, right? That we can build up, yeah, on top of it. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Yeah.
Sure thing. Any other questions? And again, I hope you guys excuse us for some of the rough edges. This is still something that we wanted to show you a first glimpse of what this piece looks like, and just to be also put a plug in for our ongoing series. So very shortly after this introduction to email automation, you should also stay tuned, because we are going to be showing you more automations and more integrations with your daily routine, with your daily activities. And we think that as you will start to appreciate some of the ease of use around some of these integrations, and agree, Sandeep, that sometimes these are not just about coming into a website and a dashboard like I've shown today. This can very easily also be transferred into your own, let's say, daily platform of choice or access to information that you choose. And we will do a lot of things there. And we are, let's say, stay tuned. Syncta over here will keep you very informed with some of the things that we're building here at DeepRunner. Gaurav?
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, if more and more people starts using email automation one way or the other, then isn't it gonna become like a bot to bot communication? And how do we avoid that? And how do we preserve that human touch? It's more of like a general question, not a product question. Since you since you
Mm-hmm.
uh, since you have embarked on this journey, maybe you you would have some comments on this.
I think it's the same kind of trend that we see these days around how websites and web properties are changing. I don't know how many of you have seen that. I have for sure. So that they are not anymore appealing to people, but they are appealing to bots as well.
Mhm.
So in essence, if you are designing today a digital property and you don't look forward thinking that you actually could be having, let's say, 10,000 customers tomorrow on your site, but you
Mhm.
also could have 100,000 bots on your site tomorrow. And yes,
Yeah.
these bots, these agents are automated. Gaurav, I think that's your point. And they
Mhm.
can go there 24/7. They can go there 10 times a minute if they want to. And they can do a lot of those things, automatically and in the background, right? So the same thing here, right? It's like, you have bots actually that will be tirelessly, checking on your email and, reading and preparing and responding in some of these cases. And then you will have counter bots that will be doing their own now processing and information. And I think that your email workflow automations as well need to be taking that into account. So that's my short answer here, Gaurav. And we would love to see how this actually, plays out, because right now, these workflows and the way that actually I have been thinking about some of the templates as well were very much human centric. But we need to design thinking that this will be also a hybrid workforce that we need to support with this platform. Shubham?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Mike. I have some of the question. Like, if I can I create a workflow that can track the specific like portion, specific mail in the mail trail. Like there is a mail chain going on, and I want to like focus on the particular mail on that particular mail chain. Can I create a workflow based on that?
Give me an example. What do you mean by specific mail chain,
So,
specific email?
so,
Letty, what do you mean?
so, so suppose there is a mail chain going on related to some functionality, and 20 and 30 emails are already completed. But I want to do a follow up on a 10th mail of that particular chain. So
Mhm.
can I create a workflow for that?
I want to say yes, you can, but because I haven't tried it, let me say maybe. No, no, yet. I know that in the things I have tested, because I have done so far limited testing, as you can imagine, we actually, I have seen the fact that you can ask that, certain things are processed in a certain way. So, for instance, you can very well say that um, look at an email thread, and this email thread has this subject, and everything that is in that email thread should be persisted and should be processed as one entity. And in essence, what I imagine, I don't know it for sure, Gareth, I imagine the workflow would look like is that the workflow and the actual prompt, right, to the AI would be that your job is to actually look at complete, email threads, and within those threads, take the context of everything that has happened before, and basically specify what should be the behavior, right, that you want from the workflow every time that it participates in that discussion. So, but very good to try it out. And speaking of that, I was going to say that obviously I'm kind of like looking for feedback, and for looking for participation. We have a number of different let's say use cases and test cases that we haven't explored yet. And literally, very, very shortly, I would like that we start doing some sort of testing. And obviously, we already have some good demand from our customers that we will also invite to join us in that testing journey. Sandeep, very quick, since we're over time.
Yeah, maybe a couple of things, right? So one is like, is can we make workflow like not only for email and Outlook, right? Just Outlook, like from the last week, all the email, please create a presentation, right? For the new potential buyer, right? Something like this.
Yes, that part I can very quickly say I have already tried it or tested
Yeah.
it, right? As in, yes, the short answer is yes to that.
Right. And also different templates, right? That you had workflows that you had created. I think they all are demos, right? They are not fully yet done.
No, no, no. They are, you can click them, you can clone them, imagine of them as being, ready to go, but you will have to customize what emails basically, right, they're coming from, they're going to, and some of the things that you would like to put on top of them. But they typically have a good solid first prompt, right? That you can get started. And in essence, the prompts are good examples. We actually think of these prompts as the guide for you to get started, with a real, right, automation workflow. And of course, we will tune it and we will improve it. But within a company, right, we are thinking that the company typically will have, some of these, let's say, very specific needs that they would like to copy paste, not just, for one employee, but for 10 or 20 or 100 employees sometimes. So again, one of the hidden gems inside, the architecture behind what you just saw today, not really, presented, is the fact that, these workflows are in essence resources of the system that can be very easily cloned and shared, right, with different people. And like I said, you customize it in terms of your own, right, email account and, schedule that you want, but
Right.
quite a bit of the information there is the same.
Right. And the final one, right? So maybe we can have like chatbot kind of like, for example, give me the latest rate of a senior engineer from a particular supplier. Maybe they have all these document in their inbox somewhere, like contract and
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
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 Something like
And
this,
and
right?
and one more thing, since you said that, and this is also important.
Yeah.
Also, behind the scenes here, what you didn't see is that we actually have processors, we have actual software running that in many cases is dynamically generated, in some cases is pre-populated by us, by DeepRunner, to do these specializing processing actions. So in essence, what you just said, Sandeep, right? That you want to actually be able to have something that looks specifically in some sort of attachment, and in that attachment does some sort of calculation and extract some sort of chart, let's say, right? So in this particular case, this will be a skill. The skill basically will be a capability software, right, that runs within that workflow in order to take the attachment, run it through that skill, and produce the output and store the output or email the output to others.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you all for your attention today. And again, I'm sorry that some of the things I want to show you are not fully baked today, but we will be doing a ton of testing in the near future, and appreciate your patience and willingness to hear us out this morning. Singta, do you want to close the meeting, or we're done?
I'm okay. If you already finished, then we are good.
Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye.